Committee.
Call Melissa Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I feel very pleased to see the cross-party support for this bill. I feel that we don't have to spend a long time speaking about this. I support this bill, and I'd like to send my regards to the Minister for bringing this bill to the House. I support it.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, New Zealand First is supporting this bill to the Select Committee. For good reasons, there is a case for the careful consideration of its provisions. It merits close consideration because a thriving and open media is fundamental to a successful democracy. Indeed, in a modern democracy, media play a pivotal part in ensuring the public are informed and not misinformed. It is no exaggeration to say that our society is shaped by media, and particularly broadcast media. We do need a variety of channels for broadcasting, channels that will reflect our society and allow open expression of views and perspectives. What would not be healthy is the concentration of media power and influence in a few narrowly controlled distribution channels. In general, we believe that there is an argument for a viable and thriving Maori TV service, providing, of course, that it is fulfilling the obligations of its charter. A service that all New Zealanders can access and derive information and entertainment from. And indeed, given the lamentable, sad overall state of public broadcasting in New Zealand, in a sense, Maori television, because it has been significantly funded for various reasons, while the others have not, for reasons that are inexplicable, it has become a de facto public broadcasting service. New Zealanders who believe in a public broadcasting system must wonder how the state of affairs was reached, because effectively there is no proper public broadcasting service in our country. That makes us unique among modern democracies. No public broadcasting service in New Zealand. There is no public broadcasting service that seeks to be the voice of an emerging New Zealand culture, which probably explains why you've got all sorts of people pushing all sorts of attributes of where we are going when there is no New Zealand culture that is being promoted by a broadcasting service funded by the New Zealand taxpayers. Other countries do it: Australia, the UK, Canada. Here, nothing. To some extent, Maori television is filling that gap. The Maori television service had a primary role to do with the future of the Maori language, because it was argued that no other service was fulfilling this role. Now, te reo must be a living language. That means it must be readily accessible, and that means broadcast media. As has been the case with the survival of the Welsh language, it's important that the language is seen to be relevant in an everyday media sense. For that reason, it was seen that the support of Maori television for te reo was critical for its survival. Now, proponents behind this legislation argue that the bill will give the service a more explicit mandate to protect and promote the Maori language, and that needs to be reflected upon. Will give the service a more explicit mandate to protect and promote the Maori language. Well, 10 years ago, what was that about? That's what every discussion in this House and behind the proposal said. Now, the bill is wide-ranging and covers a comprehensive set of values and issues, including the functions of the service, the management of the UHF spectrum, accountability documents, borrowing and investment, and future reviews. And the former broadcasting minister should listen to this, because I remember well when he was the broadcasting minister, dishing out Maori broadcasting licences all around this country, and the question was never asked, but who is listening to these Maori radio stations? Now, Mr. Williamson will remember this very well. Yeah, I came on the road and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. For example, up there in the forests of Northland was an outfit picking up about $385,000. That's right, $385,000, and there wasn't apparently any audience at all apart from Mum and Dad and the cousins down the road. And that's the kind of shambles that Mr. Williamson allowed to happen. So why he's talking during this important speech, I don't know. And then, of course, he went off, and he made a colleague of his a multimillionaire. Mr. Stephen Joyce. He gave out license on a victory sale process. A victory sale process. And I want to remind everybody listening, this is the kind of money that's gone into this. And the victory sales process goes like this. Up comes this thing up comes this item for purchase. Mr. Williamson's handing the sale. A bids $1 million. B bids $100,000. C bids $50,000. A gets the tender. Well, it deserves an inquiry, all right, but I don't expect from that, remember? A gets the tender because he bid $1 million. But he doesn't pay $1 million. He pays what the second guy bid, the $100,000. And now every morning and 5 times a day, Mr. Joyce gets up and he points his face towards Pakuranga, gets down on his knees, and he prays to the maker of Pakuranga that made him a multi-millionaire. And then walks into the house and calls himself a self-made man. You know, this has appeared in such books as The Undercover Economist, a famous economic book out of London, mentioning the shambles of New Zealand's broadcasting service, presided over by the man who's not paying enough attention to the speech, as you are up there, but he's not, because he knows better. We think it's appropriate that all the areas set out in the bill should be given due full consideration. In particular, we support the provision that the bill allows for future reviews of the operation, etc. Let me just say one thing. Oh no, the best yet to come. New Zealand First has always viewed Maori television as one alternative amongst a number available for the improvement for Maori economic and social performance. It's one alternative of expenditure. We have never viewed it in an uncritical, politically correct way. We have, in short, never been sickly white liberals who say, oh, we're too scared to confront what's needed here and we'll just dish out the family largesse. For example, for the expenditure, listen to this. For example, for the expenditure, for the money that has thus far been spent on Maori television, every Maori family in New Zealand could have been housed. That's an alternative. For the money, the 67, 70 million a year, every year, spent on Maori television these last 10 years, we could have housed every Maori family. For example, there was no justification for Maori TV bidding for TV coverage at the last Rugby World Cup, so we had ended up with 5 television stations covering the Rugby World Cup. Now, what was that about? It's just a misuse of money. But I want to say, oh, enterprise. The minister says enterprise. No, it's not enterprise at all. It is nationalism spent in the guise of the taxpayers' largesse when there's no justification at all, because most Maori I know, and that's downsight more in rugby than most people in this place, all watch it on nationwide TV or Sky. No, they bid millions of dollars and got the bid. And it's a waste of money. This is just one alternative area. Yeah, the fact is, the great thing of being around Maurice Williamson is you'll always look young. If you move around Maurice and talk to him, you'll always feel young and look young by comparison. This is just one alternative area of expenditure with an equally important or critical need for consideration. And I want to say this, though, in all fairness. In the last election, Maori TV was by far the most balanced and fair presenter of the issues and the political parties. There's no doubt about that. And so I give them full commendation about that. And then when it came to the Gallipoli celebrations or commemorations, they were streets ahead of anybody else. So give credit where credit's due. It's in these things that we would seek Maori TV to be focused, as they should be right now on the question of enrolment at the census time, which is too late, it's gone by, but the future enrolment, whether it's going to be on the Maori seats or otherwise. So in short, stick to the things they should be sticking to. We believe there's likely to be keen public interest in the bill and would encourage public submissions. But we are mindful that this is not time for a blank cheque. Whatever Maori television does deliver, it must deliver value for money. If Maori television is doing its job, it will deliver on its charter and it will deliver content that is relevant and appealing to a wide audience across the entire spectrum of New Zealand. If they do that, they can escape some of the political correctness that so far has confused so many people about the engagement of the service, and get on and do their job properly, first of all, for the country, but in particular for Maori and the Maori language.
Dr. Cam Calder.
I applaud the fact that this bill will enhance dissemination